Hi everyone, happy day. Lesline here. We are going to be doing an IG live, and by we, I mean I have a guest. My friend Katie, who is a therapist, is going to join us, and we're going to talk about compassion. What is it? So I'm going to wait for Katie to appear. You know, there's like delays and stuff there. Hey Sonia, nice to see you. Yeah, we are okay, cool. All right, so Katie is here. Let me just okay, just all I can do is laugh. Okay. Okay.
Hello.
Hi.
I was trying to get my headphones hooked up, but they're not playing ball, so I'll just not bother.
Yeah, I was gonna get my headphones too, and then I was like, it should be fine. Because I feel like with my headphones, it sounds like, I don't know, I feel like it sounds better this way.
Can you see me okay? Because it's very sunny.
Oh, yeah, I see you perfect. Yeah.
Okay, good.
All right, we got a few people joining. Hi, Nicole. Hi, Sonia.
Hello,
Hi. Who else is
Lucy. Who else have we got? Hi guys. Hi Sonia.
Okay.
Lee.
Yeah. So I was just the first 5 seconds I was just saying hello, and we're gonna be talking about compassion. What is it? Katie will introduce herself. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to this conversation. We've been meaning to have another IG live. We did one like a few months ago, which was really good. I actually really enjoyed it, and Katie actually got me to say some stuff that I hadn't said before, like publicly, which was good. It was good because I realized the more I speak and share my story, it helps me, one, and it also is helping others. So Katie, introduce yourself, please.
Thanks. Hi everyone. There's some people that don't know me, so I'm Leslie's friend.
Yes.
And I kind of feel like we're weirdly colleagues in a way. I don't know why. We don't work together, but there's something around that. We have been in a coaching group together, and I'm a psychotherapist and a coach and a yoga teacher, and I combine all of those things together in my work with people, and I focus a lot on compassion and self-compassion because I work with a lot of people who are quite self-critical, and it is the best antidote to self-criticism.
I love that. Oh, sorry.
I just said in my opinion.
Yeah, no, and I agree. I feel like a lot of us are self-critical, and I love that you're like you think it's the best antidote to being self-critical. So, and my name is Lesline because I know there's a few people here that I don't know. Like Katie said, we know each other from a mutual coaching program, and there's so many different titles, but I'm a yoga teacher, I'm a speaker. By day, I'm a registered nurse, and I'm now a certified coach. So I am here now and been here just sharing my personal story to help other moms, busy moms that want to incorporate yoga into their daily life. So yeah, we're going to get started because we wanted to talk about compassion, and it's so interesting. I just wanted to share in my story a couple of days ago, I shared my bathroom wall, a piece of it, and I had a Post-it note that said compassion, and that was like the start of, well, it was kind of the start of my personal development journey, which was only a couple of years ago. But I wrote that word down because I wanted to be more compassionate with myself, but I actually thought compassion was something different. So I want Katie to just go into like, what is the true definition of compassion? Because that blew my mind.
Mm-hmm. So but I was thinking about things after we had that conversation. Actually, I thought what you thought compassion is probably an element of compassion, which we'll go into, I guess. But the meaning of compassion, the actual root of the word means to suffer with. So the com is the with part, like you get in French, and then the passion, so to suffer with. And so it sounds like quite a dramatic word, suffer.
Yeah.
But I think when you look into it more, it makes real sense.
It does. It does. And when Katie shared that with me, to the suffer, I immediately was like, oh, And I think we kind of exchanged, you're like, oh, we need to like put a pin in this conversation, Leslie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's just save that for the IG live. And because I didn't think, okay, somebody else here is saying empathy through experience. Okay. And that's a good piece of information too. And I it just blew me away with the suffering part,
Mm-hmm.
because because you're the therapist here, so I'm asking as just a person, does suffering always have to be bad?
So I think the thing with compassion is that what it's acknowledging is that there's that common humanity element to it. So it's acknowledging that we as human beings experience at times difficult feelings and difficult things, difficult events, difficult situations in our lives. And that's kind of one of the core parts of it, is that we are all here on this planet and we all actually have very common experiences. And that's it. That's such a big part of it, because especially part of self-compassion, because we can tend to isolate our own experience, and we can tend to think, I'm the only one that reacts this way or thinks this way or feels this way. And actually we're really not. There is so much that we have in common, which we don't know because we don't speak about it.
Yeah. And that's a big thing. We don't speak about it. So we're all just like, I know for me, the whole, am I the only one? I went through that a lot, especially when I first became a mom like 4 years ago. I was like, am I the only one like running around like with their chicken with their head cut off? Like, oh my gosh, I said that saying right. I normally don't say sayings.
You did. You did.
Oh, we gotta give myself a round of applause. That's how I felt. And I had a lot of, maybe it was pride, maybe it was shame. I don't know, the exact emotion, but like, I was like embarrassed. I didn't want to talk about it. And then it just built up. And then, I then sought out a therapist. Well, that's a whole nother conversation, but I say that to say, I like that you shared the whole self-compassion aspect. And that leads me though, so we talked about like what is compassion, and a few people shared their what they think it means. But there's something else that we were talking about with compassion. I'm looking down because I wrote, here we go. So you're talking about, okay, self-compassion. What's the difference though with self-compassion versus self-love? That was a question that we were talking about.
So I think self-love is a component of self-compassion. But I think it depends how you define self-love. I guess that's the thing. Because I hear a lot of people sometimes, I'm not saying you do this, but I hear people sometimes making the term self-love fit what they need it to fit. So it could mean something like, oh, I don't want to do that thing, so I'm just not going to make myself do it because I'm being kind to myself. Or I've had a crap day and I want to eat like a whole tub of ice cream or drink an entire bottle of wine because I'm just being kind to myself. Again, not saying that you would do that,
right.
or anyone watching would do that, but that is something that we as humans can tend to do. That's like, well, I'm just going to let myself off the hook here. And also, if I think about the example of self-care, we can be like, oh, self-care, I'm going to like have a nice bath or go get my nails done. But sometimes we can do all this surface level stuff, but actually what's going on underneath isn't really self-care, isn't really self-love. Right. And so to me, compassion has a few more layers to it, because it's about wisdom, it's about strength, it's about commitment. And I can talk a bit more about that if you want me to, but there's more layers to it just than that love. And I think sometimes people get mixed up because they think that compassion is being kind and nice.
Yeah, that was me.
Yeah. And that is an element of it, but there are so many other components that make up compassion.
Wow. See, this part, I'm looking for a pen because I really like how you said there's layers. I feel like compassion, I guess, is like the top of the iceberg. That's like a common reference I feel like a lot of people know. And you said wisdom, commitment, like the commitment and the wisdom stuck out to me. I hope this live is saved 2 days. Oh no, without power. Oh no, what's your name? Shit, I don't like what's your actual name? Because I want to say your actual name. And yes, I'm gonna save it. So you can please like don't be in this if you don't got power. It'll be saved, like please. Yeah, you need your phone for other stuff. But the commitment part, like, can we talk about that? And I just really like the wisdom and the commitment. I don't. What was the third thing you said? That's like
And the strength part.
strength.
Wisdom, commitment, and strength. I'll tell you, I wrote down the definition. So I work with something called compassion focused therapy, which is why I am so into compassion.
Yes.
And it was what's the word? Invented. There's a professor called Professor Paul Gilbert who created the idea of compassion focused therapy, and his definition of compassion is a sensitivity to the suffering of self and others with a commitment to relieve and prevent it. So the sensitivity part, that's like the kindness part, isn't it? We're aware of it in others and ourselves. The commitment part to relieve and prevent it, and that also that's where the strength part comes in as well, because it can be hard to move towards suffering in ourselves and other people.
Yes.
And it requires strength.
Yes.
And that's where that all comes in. It's like the wisdom to know when we're truly capable of helping someone. So it's like the idea of if someone's drowning, you jump in to save them, but if you can't swim, that's not wise, and you actually end up putting yourself in danger.
Ooh. And I feel like a lot of people do that. A lot of people do that.
So we enter into situations to help people when our cup isn't full, end up depleted ourselves. And that's not then coming from a place of true compassion. It's coming from a place of sometimes this is how I get my feeling good about myself, helping people. So yeah, there's that part. Then the commitment part is the taking responsibility, especially for ourselves, is taking responsibility. Like, okay, this feels difficult for me, or I know this is difficult for you, but let's take responsibility for doing something about it. And then the strength part is engaging in that, the difficult part, and having that inner confidence of I'm gonna move forward to help myself and other people.
Wow. So for those that are like jumping in or just came on, this is my friend Katie, who is a therapist. She's also a yoga teacher and she's a coach. So we're talking about compassion because she is knowledgeable in the compassion space, and her therapy approach is actually around compassion. So she's going through the layers of compassion. It's not just compassion. She says that there's wisdom that you not have to have, but there's wisdom. There is strength. There is what is the other one?
And commitment.
And commitment. That these are the things that go into being compassionate. So that's what we were talking about. And then the next thing I want to talk about, because I'm just looking at my notes, the next thing I want to talk about when it comes to compassion, you mentioned there's flows. There's 3 flows of compassion. But before we go into that, the reason we're having this conversation, because people are like, why are we talking about compassion, right? Like last month, right? Yeah, I got COVID finally, and I was really like devastated by it. Like, I'm a yoga teacher, I'm this. There was a lot of judgments that I had, right, with being diagnosed with COVID. So with that being said, hey, and so nice to see you, Tabby. I believe it's Tabby, that name. So happy that you're here. So I remember just laying in the bed and I was really beating myself up. Like, I'm being really transparent with you guys. This was like last month. And then the idea in my head, well, not the idea, but I was like, oh my gosh, I have to catch up with Katie because we were meaning to do some kind of live again. And I was like, we need to talk about compassion because I realized I needed in that week or so where I was like in the bed, I needed to be compassionate with myself. And that required being wisdom, like having wisdom, strength, and that commitment of just like, okay, like, you know, just having that self-talk. So this conversation is low key for me, but I wanted to share it with others because I needed a lot of compassion last month towards myself. So there was a lot of like, you can't do it all, Lesline. There was that conversation as well. Could listen to you talk all day. Hey, Kate. Oh, thanks, Hannah. Oh, I know you're one of my people. Well, not my people, but yeah, nice to see you. But yeah, so that's why we're talking about this because I was going through it last month and I was beating myself up and I had to have some compassion. And so I was just sharing that with Katie. I was like, let's talk about that. Let's talk about compassion because I had to be compassionate with myself last month, like as I reflect. So now we're going to just go into the flows. Katie said there's 3 flows of compassion. So we're going to hear what that means.
So I want to come back to what you were talking about, which after the 3 flows, because I want to ask you a question. But so the 3 flows are, and they go in order of how typically easy we find them to engage with. So the first flow is self to others. Typically we find it easier to be compassionate towards other people. The second flow is others to self. And the third flow is self to self. And I find this really interesting because my second to the other way around, I find it easier to give compassion to myself than I do to receive it from other people. It might be because I've worked really hard on the self-compassion stuff. Like I've really flexed that muscle over the last couple of years and I've neglected the others to self. And I'm, with all the work that we've done on receiving and so on, that's where I was, you know, really flexing my others to self muscle. So I'm trying with that one now.
Okay. Is there like a quiz that people could take or like because like I want to know because as I listen to you tell everybody here these 3 flows, I'm like I feel like I have room for opportunity. I don't want to say struggle. I have room for opportunity in all 3. Hi, Kat. So
yeah. So I think there is a quiz on Kristen Neff's website where you can see how I think that's about self-compassion, and which I took about 3 years ago and then cried when I saw the results because it was like you are the least compassionate person to yourself ever, and then I used that as a stick to beat myself with. Classic. Yeah, really, I can't even be compassionate towards myself. What's wrong with me, etc. There is something else that you can do, which I have access to, but it's like a therapist tool, so I don't think it's accessible for people in general. But definitely that Kristen Neff one can give people some insight into their levels of self-compassion. And the thing is, we kind of know if we find it difficult to be self-compassionate.
We always have the answer, right? We don't need a quiz. I just want to weigh out them.
Well, I wanted to ask you a question, and this is how you can be compassionate towards yourself about the fact that you weren't compassionate towards yourself when you were unwell. And the question is, why does it make sense that you found it difficult to be compassionate to yourself when you were unwell?
Oh. Why does it make sense to be compassionate to myself when I was unwell?
Why does it make sense that it was hard for you to do it?
Oh. Huh. I'm not sure. Can you ask it in another way? I know you said it already twice, but I'm not sure.
Why would it make sense to you that you found it difficult to be compassionate towards yourself when you were unwell?
Because like I mentioned, I have all these judgments that I'm still working through. Like, oh, like I'm out here talking about wellness and like I got sick. Like that was the biggest like judgment that I had. So it was a challenge to be compassionate. It was a challenge because then I had to, oh, okay, I had to face like I had to face that judgment. I had to face it. And then like I didn't want to.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting because like it's difficult for all of us to be unwell, but maybe for you it's harder because you are a wellness expert. And like you say, there's a judgment fee that comes with that. So that's now learning that you have. It's actually really difficult for me to be unwell because maybe it feels like you failed to do something when you become unwell.
Yes. Yes. I felt like there was a million things that weren't getting done that I needed, but I didn't, but that I needed to get done. And one takeaway from it was like, I needed to slow down. Like, I know that was what it was. I needed to slow down. I was going too fast with a lot of things and I got slowed down. So yeah. Yeah.
The other thing I really love about compassion focused therapy in particular is that it uses our physiology and our biology a lot to explain why we think and do certain things. So what I was thinking as well is like when we're unwell, our threat system in our body is just like on high alert. You know, we are under attack. And quite often what happens when we're unwell is that we get corresponding thoughts to that attack that's going on in our bodies, anxious thoughts, fear thoughts, and we can really hear them because we're lying in bed doing nothing. So actually your body was under attack. It's not surprising that your mind followed suit because that's what will happen.
That is really interesting, and I like that science part of it. That helps it make sense. So what would you say, because we'll close I guess in maybe a little bit, what would you say, using me as the example still, how do I don't want to say overcome because I feel like that's also something else that I see you talk about too, like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I do appreciate your approach of therapy in the sense of like, you don't always have to be like winning big. Maybe I'm saying this like wrong, but how can we manage laying in the bed and like having all these thoughts? Like, how can we talk ourselves out of it? Should we talk ourselves out of it? Is there a compassion exercise that you can do while you're laying in the bed and you literally cannot do anything?
So mindfulness is a massive part of compassion. So being aware of those thoughts and why we feel them is helpful. The common humanity part is also helpful. So understanding that, this is what people feel like when they're unwell. Like, it's not just me. I'm not fundamentally flawed. This is a difficult situation for me. I'm a busy mom. I've got a job. I've got stuff to do, and it's inconvenient and difficult for me to be unwell. And I guess actually going backwards, the first place to start, and this is what I was told by somebody when I was struggling to be compassionate towards myself and I was beating myself up. They'd said, just have the intention to try to be more compassionate towards yourself. That's it. It is such an easy place to start. There's so much permission there. You don't have to be good at it. You can just have the intention to try to start, and that's it. And just understand that sometimes we experience difficult things and that they will pass. That's a really, really good place to start. There's also tons of resources online on Kristen Neff's website, like guided meditations and so on, which are wonderful for times like that. Even like 5-minute ones where you can just listen to her guide you through a compassion practice. There's loads of free stuff online.
How do you spell Kristen Nest? How do you spell her name?
So it's Kristen, Kristen Neff, Neff.
Okay, Neff. Okay, I'm just putting that here. Also for me, because when I type something out. So if you're just joining, we're talking about compassion. This is my friend Katie, who's a therapist. She's a coach and she's a yoga teacher. So we're talking about compassion because I needed it last month when I was diagnosed with COVID. I was beating myself up and I realized I needed to be compassionate. So I reached out to my friend Katie and I was like, this is what we need to talk about. So it was just like the alignment that's been happening has been beautiful. So just to kind of like go through what we were talking about, we defined compassion. So I'm going to leave this as a replay and everything, but Katie defined compassion for us, which blew my mind to the point where Katie was like, okay, put a pin in it, Leslie. We got to save it for this. And then we talked about the difference between, I'm looking at my notes, self-love versus self-compassion. They're different. Katie schooled us. Well, she schooled me. Let me not speak for you all. She schooled me. And then we went into, then Katie was like, okay, compassion, there's layers to it. But I was like, wait, what? So she explained the layers. So there's 3 layers to it, which again, just listen to the replay. She goes through that. And then we talked about the 3 flows of compassion. There's flows. There's 3 separate flows. And this person, Kristen Neff, Katie recommends that you go Google Kristen Neff, and she has a wealth of compassion resources, meditations, guided meditations to help you be more compassionate. Oh, perfect. And then she just
That's her
dropped another
website.
link.
Yeah.
Okay. And then yeah, so as we and then she kind of, we had like a little therapy or maybe therapy session where she's asking me questions about like me being diagnosed with COVID last month and how like just the judgments that I was having with it. And then I asked for resources, like when you're in the bed, what do you do? Like, how do you overcome this? And Katie shared mindfulness, being intentional, which if you practice yoga, it's very similar. These themes of how to practice mindfulness, how to be intentional, right? And if you don't practice yoga, this is a great plug. Katie and I are both yoga teachers. So if you want to start your yoga journey with us, pick one. Pick me or her. Doesn't matter. So as we wrap up, and is what was, because I just wanted to kind of recap because I saw like new people coming in. What else, Katie? I'll just, because I felt like I talked a little too much. Sorry.
But no, you didn't. I actually got Kristen Neff's spelling of her name wrong. It's Tin. Anyway, it doesn't matter. You've got the website there.
Okay.
What I would just say is that there's so much free stuff around this online. There's that website I've just put in, which is her website. There's also the Compassionate Mind Foundation, which is the basis for where all the compassion-focused therapy stuff lies. And there's loads of free resources on there as well. I am going to start doing more posts that are compassion related. So I might start doing maybe some guided meditations or breath work that is more related to this. So keep an eye out on my feed as well. But this is how I've learned, until I actually trained as a therapist and I've done a lot more training on compassion focused therapy. This is how I got into all this stuff, just consuming online stuff that was free.
Yeah.
And yeah, there is so much free stuff out there if you need it. It's just a question of applying it to yourself, not just kind of absorbing it, but really reading it and listening to it and saying, how does this apply to my life? And how can I apply this new learning to my life? Because I think sometimes we expect to just read something and it go in and then everything's fixed. And it's not that way.
That's me. That's why I'm laughing. That's wonderful that you said that part, because we're dropping these resources, and I'll make sure me and Katie will circle back, and I'll make sure to like edit the caption so it's there. But just take one resource, or you can look at all of them if you want. But I know, as me and my target audience of busy moms, we don't have the time. So just take one resource and look at it. and then just go about your day. I promise you'll get one thing, but you don't have to be like, oh my gosh, like I have to study this.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, for those that aren't following Katie, if you're following me, please follow Katie, because she will be posting stuff about compassion. She is the licensed therapist, not me. This is also not therapy. This is just us having a conversation, which leads me into, I guess, the last question. Why is it important to practice compassion?
Okay, because difficult stuff comes up in life. That's it. And compassion is the very best way, in my opinion, to deal with difficult stuff, because it's the right balance. It's about acknowledging the difficult stuff, allowing it to be there, and then doing something about it. So many of us try and push it away and just go, no, 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 it's not happening. Ignore, ignore. And when we do that, we can often end up doing the opposite too, which is just lean fully into the difficulty, like be in a pit for like 2 weeks and what have you. The compassion route is the really healthy, helpful middle ground where we feel the feelings and then we make commitment to do something about it. It's a really balanced approach.
I like that. And we all need more balance in our life. I want to stop it here because I'm just gonna be honest, I'm afraid that this is gonna, I did a long live with another friend of mine, and it just like cut us off. So I'm afraid Instagram's gonna do that to us, and this is like a lot. This is really good information that Katie shared. And again, like if you weren't able to pop in beginning, don't worry, I'm gonna save this on both of our grids so you can listen when you can. Do you have any other thing else, Katie, that you want to share?
I just hope people can see me because I can barely see the screen. There's so much sun coming.
Oh no, you see, no, I can see you just fine. Yeah.
Okay, good. Lovely. That was really good. Thanks, Lesline. Lovely as always.
All right, friend. All right, y'all. So we'll see you. We're gonna do this. We'll do these like, you know, every few months. I'm gonna be doing this with Katie because I love me some therapy. I love Katie. She's awesome. I'm so happy to have you in my life, and I really appreciate your support. Thank you, friend. Thank you.
Okay. Take
bye.
care.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye.